We all know how prisons are depicted in movies: unpredictable, dangerous, and incredibly violent. However, have you ever heard a real prisoner discuss their time behind bars, discussing their most terrifying moments and the moments that keep them awake at night? Well, today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 scary prison stories from around the world. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. And with that, let's jump in. Also, I should note that I had to tame it down a bit because there are some really disturbing prison stories, but I cannot put them in this video. Coming in at number 5, everything is scary on day 1. This is probably the most ideal starting point because of course prison is absolutely terrifying, but nothing is as terrifying as the very first day in your cell. User Foot Peter recounts his experience the first time he was incarcerated. I quote, "Day 1, everything is just scary as can be. You don't really know where you'll be safe, if anywhere. Every time you're passing someone, are they going to shank you? Are they going to cold cook you in your face?" I don't know what that means. Chow time was total panic mode. Hundreds of violent thugs in a close group outnumbering the guards 25 to 1. If something went down, you would be dead before order was restored. When incidents happened, you have to hide but not cower. You have to keep your back to the wall so you can fend off any incoming attacks. So the first chow time a fight broke out was the scariest time I was there. As days went on, you became more aware of when to be alarmed, but there are plenty of sneak attacks that come when all is calm. One time during morning chow, he loves the word chow, a goon squad of a few people were coming to get someone and they had to pass my direction. They weren't coming after me, but I didn't know that until they passed me. That was another scary moment. I was almost frozen, yet ready to throw down. You can't show emotions in these situations either. You can't let the dude sitting across from you see you panicking. I can't even imagine having to be on guard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not knowing if each day could be my last. What a horrible, horrible feeling. Also, I can't die, because I'm the queen. Coming in at number 4, mind games. Most will know, even people who haven't been to prison, that prison is tough on the mind. It breaks even the most hardened of criminals. However, one former inmate wrote about how awful these mind games can truly be. I quote, "The first day I was assigned to a new unit after being sentenced, DUI 90 days. I got put in a 5-man cell. It wasn't my first time locked up and had been in jail for a few weeks, so I wasn't too nervous. The guys were cool to me all evening. All 4 had done time before in much worse prisons. They were all playing cards and I didn't know the game, so I sat on my bunk reading. They started off saying weird cryptic stuff, random stuff regarding Vaseline and who was cute on the block, etc. It ramps up over the course of an hour, then they start playing strip poker. Meanwhile, I've been hearing every single word they say and studiously ignoring it. They got bored of being subtle and began saying awful stuff about having sex with each other. I ignore everything while secretly getting scared they're going to do something to me. Eventually all 4 got up, shirtless, and they trapped me on my top bunk and started grabbing at me. I yelled and they collapsed in laughter and spent the next 48 hours telling everyone who would listen. I can't even imagine the psychological warfare that goes on inside of prisons, and I'm definitely aware that that isn't even the worst of it. It's just all I really can talk about in this video. There is far worse, but you'd have to bleep every other word if I said it. In at number 3, we have the sprinkler system. Another inmate story. This one comes to us from Produce This, who stated, I quote, "Honestly, the scariest moment for me was my first walk back to the dorm. You had no idea what you're walking into. All you can think about is what you've heard about and seen on TV. When you get to the back with your clothes and mat roll, everyone is just staring you down. Some are catcalling you basically. Usually this is just to with you though. Other than that, I didn't have any issues. We did have this one guy that was in ISO outside of our dorm. I assume that means isolation, because I know words. He kept being a and hitting the sprinkler head in his room. This caused the hall to flood, which in turn flooded into our dorm. There was a locked room between the hall and outdoor. After about the 3rd time it happened and a few guards had gotten their stuff wet, they told the guard next to them, next time he does it, just lock his in that room and we'll take care of it. Not sure if they were joking or serious at the time or not, but sure enough the hallway flooded the next day. They told us all to step back by our rack. In comes 2 guards with the guy from isolation. They left him in the lock room and walked away. Then the door to our door unlocked. 4 guys whipped that dude's for a good 2 minutes before they came and got him. Stuff stayed dry after that. Yikes, I don't even want to know what happened to that guy. It sounds awful. Don't with the sprinklers, I guess. Coming in at number 2, we have observation. This story comes to us from Did You Know Facts, sent in by an anonymous user who recounts their time in prison. They said, I quote, "My family came to visit me on Christmas Day the first year I was in. I was so ashamed that I had a little breakdown the next day and punched the cinder block wall inside my cell. One of the guards invited me to come talk to him. I made the mistake of thinking he was my friend and was talking about the meaning of life and why things happened. He decided he thought I was suicidal, which I wasn't. The next day I was shipped off to a maximum security prison in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, stripped down naked and given a Kevlar smock to wear. They keep the temperature down at 60 degrees, which means that you have to stay huddled in a corner to conserve body heat. Because this was observation, I wasn't allowed to have anything, nothing to read, watch, etc. Naked and cold for an entire week. If you'd like to see what that is like, turn your thermostat down, then take all your clothes off and sleep on the floor of your bathroom with the light on for 6 days straight. No showering either. Wasn't offered a chance to clean myself. That's how I spent New Year's 2007. Observation is not some kind of psychological treatment, it's punishment and mental torture. Sleeping and singing to yourself is all you can do. Too cold to do anything else. Brutal. Now I try to go out of the country for New Year's every single year. Honestly, that is absolutely awful. I can't even begin to imagine what kind of damage that would do to a person's mind. It sounds like the Russian sleep experiment in a way. Being forced to sleep on the floor with the lights on with absolutely nothing to your name. Horrendous. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have a nurse's perspective. This entire list thus far has been the perspectives of prison inmates who were incarcerated and faced grueling conditions. However, what about other people inside those walls, the staff, specifically the nurses? Uploaded by KLC223, who said, I quote, I worked in a prison as a nurse. Sometimes severely violent or mentally unstable inmates were placed in the chair. This was always a temporary thing. It's basically a big black chair that after the inmate is handcuffed, legs and feet, he/she is then tied to this chair to contain them. Because this risks their circulation being cut off, it required a nurse to be present to check pulses every 15 minutes in hands and feet. They were let out of the chair every 2 hours for a 15-minute period to walk around the cell. So an inmate on PCP comes into the prison intake, wild and combative. He's immediately put into the chair by a set of 5 trained correction officers in SWAT-like gear. I was called from the medical unit to be assigned to monitor his circulation. He's acting out of it, but other than some yelling, he was pretty calm with me being there. But he can only be so wild when tied to a chair anyways. The 2-hour time frame was reached to let him walk this cell. As soon as he had his handcuffs unlocked, he went completely insane, biting the officers in the arms and shoulders and headbutting them as well as punching them in the face. I had to run out of the cell and back off as quickly as I could. I managed to get out fine, but the officers had to restrain him immediately. All 5 had to go to the hospital for either broken bones, stitches, or chunks bitten out their arms. It was all pretty horrific. I mean, this entire thing is horrific. I've never heard of the chair. I had no idea that was happening. Is that normal? And I just didn't know. Honestly, it all sounds pretty strange to me. I didn't know people were getting locked in chairs. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any prison stories that we missed? Like I said, I had to tame this list down because there are some stories that I read that will certainly linger with me for a little bit. I didn't even experience it. Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos, Top 5 Scary True Stories from North America. Jerry Millett said, I couldn't help but to rewind just before you said peasants, and I rewatched it. Having already crossed that line, I paused you in the midst of saying it and I glared in your eyes, then shuddered and humbly hung my head. I'm not worthy. Yeah, a lot of you commented on the fact that I called you peasants. It was a joke, it's a term of endearment actually. It means I love you guys, peasants. Shira Stacy said, I'm so thrilled and thankful Lucy is back. I was starting to think she lost her body and was living inside my mind. She is queen of the voices I hear. Who says I am here? Maybe you're seeing things now. We'll never know, will we? Maybe this is all a dream. Rayford Presley said, the outtakes are awesome, Lucy. I love them. Cracked me the up. Yeah, I'm a bit up. Yeah, that's what I said. I think that was my quote. Yeah, I'm a bit up. But it's true, I am a bit up. Right? Aren't we all? Beth Marsh said, welcome back, Lucy. Just wondering what is the tat on your arm? Honestly, I've answered this countless times, but I will keep answering it if you keep asking about it. It is the Rocky Mountains in Banff. Christopher Mendez said, the general consensus is we miss the pale goddess and her saying Rotten Tomatoes. Well, I'm back, and I'm gonna talk about Rotten Tomatoes and the general consensus, don't you worry. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, I'll see you later. Discussing their most terrifying moment. Oops, alright. Discussing their my first walk back to the dorm is what it's meant to be. This caused the hall to flood, which in turn, This entire list has thus far been This entire list has thus